It's the Terrible at Fishing radio show on Gold Country Radio. Here's your fishing expert and host, Michael Ruffino.
Welcome back to Terrible at Fishing, everybody. I thought this week we'd go over not just a little bit about the fishing report, but how to make baits and how I do it and some of the techniques that I use. But to start us off, we're going to talk a little bit about fishing reports. So lakes are becoming unsteady, so I would not go out and step on those lakes. Although we are having sort of a fluctuation of different weathers lately, the ice is getting layered and thin. So hit some rivers. River's going to be doing really well. The Lost River doing really well. Over in Bonanza, I think I've told you all that. And look for some open water. So the other river's going to be opening pretty soon. Give it a few more weeks. Klamath River, and after Memorial Day, we'll have the Williamsons and the Wood Rivers open. So, but if you're indigenous, have at it. That's good stuff. I have to move to Italy to be indigenous. So, baits. I will tell you that some of my more popular videos on Terrible at Fishing Online is on bait making. Now, I'm a hard bait type of guy. I love fishing with hard baits, crank baits, jerk baits, things like that. And I just get a lot of hits off of them. And somebody asked me this week when I was at a meet and greet, and what makes my baits better than other people's baits? Well, because I know my water. So my lakes, my rivers, things like that, I know what those fish like. From one lake to another lake, one body of water to another water, you get different preferences of fish. Some of them will hit red, chartreuse, green, black and blue, things like that. And then there's some things they have in common. So, how do you kind of start out, painting your own baits? And I airbrush my baits. So, buying an airbrush from Amazon, it's not even going to cost you $100, for a setup. Although a good airbrush, which you would graduate to fairly quickly, runs about $100. I have a Pache, and the Pache, or even an Iwata. Those are really good brands, and you really can't go wrong. I kind of went with Pache because, I had a Pache 40 years ago and loved it, and always liked the brand. So, and then you're going to need acrylic paint. Yeah, water-based paint. And you're thinking, Mike, you're throwing it in the water. How long is that paint going to last? Well, it'll last. I'll tell you in a sec. The acrylic set, if you know how to mix your colors, just get the primaries and just get a color wheel, print one off of the internet, and you can make any color you want. Now, I'm a little, I like to go into the pearls. Pearls refract light a little bit better, and they look prettier. But the pearlescents have a pigmentation in it, and that actually, or even metallics, in order to get the light to flash off of those baits better. And that's really, I kind of like staying within those realms. I'm not much for fluorescence, so I don't usually do fluorescence. I do have a couple that are fluorescent, like chartreuse, which is a sort of a yellowish green tinge to it, and and maybe red. There's a scarlet red that I use that works really, really well. But I kind of stay within the metallics and pearls because as light hits it, it reflects better off of it. And then there are some tricks to painting a bait. Some baits, we're putting stripes on it, just vertical stripes. They don't have to look pretty. just vertical stripes. Gives the bait some flash as it's pulled through the water. Sometimes a striped bait works better for me than other baits. Putting patterns on it, dots or something like that, helps it help it look more like a real critter to the fish. Now, Lake of the Woods is where I fish most of the time, and there are certain colors that work really well. Lavender or purple. Purple or lavender works really well in Lake of the Woods. Also, browns or golds. Browns and golds work very well. And then probably my favorite that nobody else practically fishes with, black. I know it. You're thinking black. I go, yeah, black. One of my favorite baits from a company called Sixth Sense online is one called the Black Magic design. Very hard to paint, by the way. So I always go to the clearance section and check them out. And my favorite bait from them is called a swink. It's got sort of an L bill on it. It goes down and then jets out. The Swank Black Magics, good as gold. Now, I do paint that design, something similar, not as, exactly like theirs, but black with blue spots with a yellow belly. Probably one of my best baits. And you're wondering, typically what you would do is throw dark baits inside dark water, stained water, very little clarity in the water. But nice thing about black baits, they always work. Black baits always work. So adding the blue on there, which bass see is a different color than blue, but it's very attractive to them. And then adding that yellow belly to it, just a stripe right down the middle center line on the belly. And then I put, iridescent eyes on it. Probably one of the best combinations I've ever done. I've always caught personal bests off of my black baits. And I'll even do black baits in soft plastic. Ask a lot of fishermen, ask them about black and blue. I mean, black and blue is a very, very, very popular combination for soft baits and jigs. They just don't translate it over to hard baits. Why? I have no idea. If it works with worms and jigs, why don't they translate it over to hard baits? I hardly ever see anybody fish a black and blue in a hard bait. I think I'm the only one. I got a lot of them too. I mean, my walls got a bunch because I had a clearance sale over at 6 cents, and I kind of went nuts. $2 each. You can't go wrong. I don't know if the sale's going on still, but worthy of a check. Always go to the clearance section. It's $2.44 each. That is just a pretty good deal. I just had to do it. So, but black and blue is one of those things that'll work in any body of water. Now, you're probably wondering, why does black work so good? Because it presents a clear, distinguishable profile in the water, even in dark stained water where you got 6 inches of visibility. It actually has a really good profile, and the fish see the profile. If you had, let's say, a white bait, it just blends right in. They don't see the profile. It disappears. It's like it's invisible. It's cloaked. Black baits work good. Now, this year I will be painting quite a few black and blues, and you'll be able to buy them over at the marina at Lake of the Woods. Those work. Those actually, if I was to tell you to buy one of my baits, I'd get the black and blues. You'd be shocked. You really would be shocked. They have a really loud rattle, so they're like a castanet. Good sound coming from them in a deeper tone too. The bigger ones do, and I do have a 4.5 inch, And throwing a big bait gets you bigger fish. I put 1/0 hooks on there, which is a big hook. And, just make sure you don't hook yourself. Now, this year I think I'm going to package it in a very unique way. But when you paint your baits, so after let's say you get your airbrush, you get your paints. Now where do you get the blanks? Now there's lots of places online that you can get blanks. My favorite one is Lure Build, LUREbuild.com. Lure Build. James Gano actually owns that company. He's a really nice guy. He's always done me right. So Lure Build actually is my favorite place to buy baits. And so now you got, there's lots of places. There's Barlow's and other companies. And you can buy these baits, and you're going to need split rings and really good hooks. I'm a big Gamakatsu fan, so Gamakatsu hooks are best hook I've ever found, although they don't make all sizes, unfortunately. So with my finesse or very light tackle baits, I can't go with Gamakatsu. Sometimes I go with a VMC, depending on the VMC, because VMC can make some pretty yucky baits or hooks, but they can make a really good one too. So it just depends. And so now you've got your blanks, but you're going to need one more thing. And that's going to be a clear coat. And there's lots of different epoxy clear coats out there. Some are softer, some are harder. Lure Build pretty much has everything that you need. He's got a 2-part epoxy that works very, very well. So you can mix that up in a 50-50 and just paint it onto your baits. And in a couple days, it dries hard as a rock, and that paint and that bait will just be able to endure through lots of days of fishing. So that's really how it takes a little bit of practice. It takes a little bit. You could use almost anything for a pattern. Loofah sponges. The loofah sponge? I just cut those up and I use those as a pattern for scales. I know. And it's cheap. You can get them over at, a store, and they're dirt cheap, and there's a lot of netting in there for you to go ahead and use. And sometimes I just cut my own. Just buy some sheets of plastic from Amazon, and then you just cut it out and just make stripes or something like that. My wife did scrapbooking. She doesn't do it anymore, but she had all sorts of neat little scrapbooking scissors and stuff like that I use in order to make these really cool stencils when I go ahead and do it. Nowadays I've got a laser machine, CNC machine, things like that, and I'm able to do lots of different things with my machines. But still, simple works. Just simple works. You don't have to get fancy, and you don't have to create a real live looking, trout, but I think as you get into it, you'll get better at it, and you will find certain color combinations work better for you and your style of fishing. And I love topwater fishing in the summer. We probably have the best topwater fishing here in Klamath Falls in the summer. 78-degree water at Lake of the Woods, surface temp. You're just popping, you're just getting topwater explosions all day long. Square bills work really, really well, always. Always have a bunch of square bills with you, because square bills just always work. Definitely the most popular bait people have in their tackle boxes. So sort of take that into consideration when you're buying your baits. I hope this little bit helps. We're going to go into soft baits, how to make them, and spinners in the next segment. So enjoy our commercials, and please support the station. So if you have any questions, just contact the station, Mike Wood, and he will set you up, and it's just a great thing to do.
Out in the backwoods under the stars, I tune in the radio from my old car. Gold country radio on Friday night. Terrible at fishing, but it feels just right.
Want to get your business noticed? Sponsor a show on KKFO Gold Country Radio on 103.3 FM and create awareness through on-air announcements, our online stream at goldcountryradio.org, and our podcasts that live on forever. Your message reaches a broad local audience while also targeting listeners who choose to tune in to the shows they love. Plus, we promote your sponsorship across our website and social media. For more information, email goldcountryradio@gmail.com. Call 541-238-6989 or visit goldcountryradio.org. Gold Country Radio, your message heard locally and beyond.
The Terrible at Fishing Radio Show. Michael's got the secrets and now you know. Can't lie, you catch just fine. Gold Country Radio.
Welcome back to Terrible at Fishing. We are talking how to make baits today. Now, we just talked about hard baits, and that's near and dear to my heart. But this last year, I wanted to start making soft baits and spinners. Now spinners are probably the most effective bait there is in your tackle box. And yet we pay $4, $5, $6 for a spinner. And that gets expensive because you lose spinners a lot. You just do. You lose them. So I saw this, they're called wire benders. Wire benders can be very expensive, $100 for a good wire bender. But I saw this one video, and it was like the only video. It just popped on one day, I don't know, on YouTube. And it's called Tackle Tool. And the Tackle Tool, I do have a video on my YouTube channel on this tool, as well as how to use it. The Tackle Tool is a very, very affordable wire bender to make spinners, as well as many other different types of baits. Comes with a nice little book. But for $40, think about this for a second. $40. When it'll cost you about 80 cents then to make a spinner. One that you like, 80 cents. Now, you're going to go to a store and spend $5 on a spinner pretty easily. That's 8 spinners. 8. We all have 8 spinners in our tackle boxes. So this one tool, 8 spinners. Now you can make any spinner you want. You can make it heavy, make it light, make it small, make it big. You can make any color that you want, because beads are very, very cheap, and then the weight that we put on it is very, very cheap, and blades are very, very cheap. I mean, just go on to Amazon and check it out. It's just crazy how affordable that is. That little wire, pennies. So now the Tackle Tool, and I have a really good video because I made a couple videos and it wasn't very good. Somebody says, Mike, you got to do a better job at making this video. So just recently I put the camera right on it, and hopefully I did a good job on demonstrating the Tackle Tool. I think it's from Jan's Craft or something like that. Anyway, it's in my video. But this tool will make spinners for you easily. I mean, just so easy. And the color combinations that you want. So there are certain, I remember when Topsy was a big deal. Now it's gone because, they took the dam out. But over there, red worked really, really well. No, chartreuse worked really, really well at Topsy. And then red worked really, really well at Lake of the Woods. So I would never, you just didn't cross it. But when you fish certain water bodies, they like certain colors and color combinations. They might want a gold blade. They might want a silver blade. They might want, a blade that you painted. And you could just take waterproof markers And you don't have to be fancy about this, but you can put patterns, dots, black dots on it, or yellow stripes, whatever you want onto the blade with just waterproof markers. I mean, it's just very, very simple. And then you get to choose your hook quality too, which is always my favorite thing, is choosing my hook quality. Now, typically with, spinners, we're dealing with, size 10 or size 12 hooks, really tiny, small hooks. But let's say you want to fish the Williamsons. Well, now you can't use a treble hook, so now you got to use a single hook. Well, now you can make a whole tackle box just for the Williamsons River. That's the nice thing about it. If you go into a store, I think Blue Fox, which is my favorite store-bought spinner, and you can buy those sonic bells too. So you can make your own Blue Fox. But Blue Fox gives you a single hook option, so they give you an extra hook in there for you to switch out the hooks. So those are some of the things that making your own bait spinner allows you to do. You can choose different blades. You make a willow blade, a Colorado blade, or whatever on it. And you can just make whatever you think works best. If you have a favorite, let's say rooster tail or something like that, you could do that. And you can buy hooks with feathers on them or learn how to tie it. And I've learned how to tie. So everything I throw is something that, I got creative and I made. And that's, people wonder why I catch so many fish. I know this channel is called Terrible at Fishing, but you guys know when I started the channel, I was paralyzed and I could barely speak. And so I was terrible at fishing. So it was kind of a sarcastic joke about what, when I started the channel, I could always fish. I just couldn't fish. I just couldn't hold a rod, barely talk. So that's, the tackle tool by Jan's Craft is probably one of the most affordable ways to make the most common bait that you will ever use, which is a spinner. Worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. I would tell you to just invest $40 because you put more than that every time you go fishing practically. And now you can make an entire tackle box just for you. Your designs, your color choices, your weights, your sizes. You just can't do better than that. And you will catch more fish. Now, we will end the show talking about my other types of baits that I use, which is soft baits. Now, soft baits kind of intimidated me a little bit because you're dealing with hot, molten plastic, something called plastisol. And the molds can be very, very costly. For a good mold, yeah, you're going to spend $100 fairly easily, maybe $200 for a mold. But recently, too, that I did try a $20 mold from Amazon. It was $20, something like that. It wasn't very much. And I wanted to try it. I mean, we got to lose. And it actually worked out very well. It's just a 3-inch paddle tail grub. And I wanted to try this, not only for the price, but since it was long, 3 inches is long, I could cut the head off an inch or whatever and make it a 2-inch. And so this one little bait allowed me to, have 2 baits. And it's a two grub mold. So every time you put, plastisol in it, it makes 2. Not a bad little mold. So, but typically, Angling AI is my preferred mold, and those, they do get costly. So there are 2 different types of molds. There's injection molding and open pore molding molds. And the open pore is exactly that. You don't need an injection tube. And you can just pour it right into the mold, and it sets in a few minutes, and then you can just pop it out and do another one, and another, and another. Now, the nice thing about an open pour mold is, one, you don't have to buy an injector, which is going to run you quite a bit of money, but you also can heat up in a microwave that I bought for $25 over at the thrift store, 2 different colors, and then just pour them in one after the other, and then they bond together, and this way you have more variety. Now, with injection molds, you need to have a double injector, which is going to run you quite a bit of money, $180 for a good double injector. This, you just need 2, Pyrex, or, Pyrex measuring cups. You can just pour it in there. And there are my 6-inch mold, open pour mold, is by far one of my favorites. And I can make anything I want. I also can paint it with my airbrush. I use an oil-based paint, so you can paint it and the paint stays on. I mean, it does not come off. I don't have to clear coat it or nothing. The beautiful thing about soft baits too is there's a lot more action. It's affordable, relatively speaking. I get oh my goodness, I can't see the brand. Dead On Plastic is where I get my plastisol and my colors. I know how to mix color too, so there are some excuse me, color shifting ones that are very good. So the Dead On Plastic has a great selection, and you can just buy a gallon of that, and you heat it up at up to 350 degrees, and you can mix in your colors and little flakes and pour it into your molds. It works very well. Or you could buy a white or something like that, create a base, and you can paint it. And it's kind of fun because painting, I could do a lot with my airbrush, and I can create patterns on the soft bait. I can create 3 or 4 different colors on it. I can make the head a different color than the tail. I can do so much with it. And that's what's so much fun. The creativity that you get out of making baits is just a lot more fun. I mean, you could just take a grub and dip it, the head of it or the tail of it, just dip it in some chartreuse dye, and you've done it. I mean, there you go. You got a chartreuse tail, and just dip, and off you go. It is that easy. I know it kind of looks intimidating, but making, you can get that $25 or whatever it was mold, that grub on the internet, and then you buy some plastisol and some colorant. You'll need a temperature thermometer. Make sure everything's at 350 degrees, and then just go to the thrift store and buy what you need. Buy some Pyrex glass things, and some stirrers and whatnot. It really doesn't require a whole lot. Just takes a little bit of patience, and you can always remelt it. So even if you mess it up, you can just remelt it. So in fact, you probably have a lot of plastic baits on your wall or in your that you don't use, and you can remelt them and make something else out of it. And that's another neat thing about plastic. You can reuse it. But that's about, the advantage of making your own bait is that you will catch more because you know what works best for you and in the waters that you go ahead and fish in. So try it this year. But make your own spinners for $40. I know. you can go nuts. Make some for your friends, your kids. You give some out to children like I do at the lake. It's cheap. It's only pennies to make your own spinner. So get that tackle tool. It's a great little item. I mean, I like making my own baits. I'm learning how to tie flies and stuff like that. I gotta learn how to fly fish. That's this year. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Thank you for tuning in and support community radio. Anyway, this is Mike Ruffino from Terrible at Fishing. Tight lines, and see me on my YouTube channel. Take care, everybody.
That was Terrible at Fishing, the radio show, with fishing expert Michael Ruffino. Check out Terrible at Fishing on YouTube, and tune in next week for the next episode and more great fishing tips. Terrible at Fishing, Fridays at 7 p.m. on Gold Country Radio.